loves Big Macs. The daughter, the wife, the son, everybody loves the Big Mac, #1 sandwich on the planet. We're gonna make a 20-pound Big Mac replica. I'm gonna have 5 of my idiot buddies with myself try and eat it. That's what we're doing here. The problem is, how do you take a Big Mac and make it exactly 20 pounds and yet realize that it's a Big Mac? You see a lot of people on the internet making Big Macs, but they just make big giant burgers that are all silly and goofy. And first we're gonna start by figuring out what the weights of each of them are. What we've done is gone to 3 different stores, Store A, Store B, and Store C, and we've ordered 2 Big Macs, 1 of each kind, 1 with sauce and 1 without. With sauce is going to allow us to get the maximum volume of what a Big Mac is, and we're going to take the average of all 3. Without sauce is going to do the same weights and take the average, and from there we can get the sauce number. Make it easier because we're not going to sit there and scrape sauce off of each. Lettuce is going to be somewhat of an issue. Onions might be, I don't know, we'll walk through that and we'll see what it is. So let's start out by seeing what is the actual weight of a Big Mac. Okay, wow, so that was a lot of work. So, here's the thing. We've got all the numbers on what makes up a Big Mac. For instance, the pickles are 0.2 ounce of the entirety, and that comes out to about 2.72% of the entire Big Mac. Now, how do we make a 20-pound one? Well, 20 pounds after cooking and after it's all done is going to come up to 320 ounces. We already know that. So what we do from this point is we take 2.72% of 320 ounces, and we know that that's the pickle that we have to make. So now what I'm going to do is slide like this, because I'm going to put up here on the screen what all the percentages are. We're going to change numbers to percentages, and then take those percentages of 320 ounces. Now if you've been following and you're smart, we're going to realize there's 2 problems here. Meat and roll are going to have numbers that they have to achieve when they're done. The problem is they're not going to be that way before we start cooking, because both bread and meat, when you cook them, lose space and size. We want to replicate a Big Mac as it comes from the store when you get it, just in 20-pound size. So what we're going to have to do is study making rolls, the shape, the size, the whole 9 yards, and making beef patties the shape, the size, the whole 9 yards that come out to the 20 pounds. Because on the day we finalize, we're actually going to weigh this, and it's going to say at least 20 pounds. Okay, so we've done all the measurements, we've done all the math, and now we're up to the point where we've got to start actually making the hamburger. Now, to replicate a Big Mac, we have to start with the roll, and the reason for that is that we don't know the actual circumference. We know the ounces, the poundage, the percentages of what everything's got to be. Like, we know that this roll is going to be 7 point something pounds because it's 38% or whatever it was. The problem is we don't know the distance and the height, the width and the height of that object. Now, when you measure it this way, a Big Mac is 3.5 inches. When you measure it this way, it's 2. So what I've done is take factors of 2 times 3.5. 4 times 7, 6 times 10.5, 8 times 14. 10 times 17.5 seems like would be the, 17.5 would be this round and this high to replicate this into 9 pounds, which is the weight of the dough that we're going to cook, because it's going to wind up being 7 point something pounds, which is what it really needs to be. Because remember, we want this to be 20 pounds when it's done. So we have to take these 3 objects as one object and sliced. Because I noticed there was a variance in the bottom. This whole thing is 2.8 ounces, all cooked as one thing. Oddly enough, it's wider than it is high by a lot. So it's almost twice as wide as it is high. I'm going to make the basic standard loaf of bread, and we're going to make one that we're going to weigh it first so that we'll see what percentage that chunk of bread is before we bake it. And we're going to make a version of this, but it won't be that. It'll be maybe half the size. And we're only doing that just to see exactly how much dough we need and what it needs to be wider than high. Will it need to be 10 by 17.5? I don't know. 8 inches high by 14 wide? Probably somewhere in there. Maybe one dough loaf will get a 6 by 10.5. I don't know. We'll find out. But we've got it all factored out, and that's what today's math is. We're gonna work that out and make that first loaf, and then we're gonna do the math from there.
Holding hands, love's pantomime, shooting glances, time to time. Champagne bubbles, Cupid's brew, to usher in the rising moon. Oh, my heart whistles a happy tune. I'm in just that kind of a mood, embracing by the fireside. I look into those big blue eyes, and that big question comes to mind. Wedding bells will say I do forever. Now it's just we two. I'll have my cake and eat it too. I'm in just that kind of a mood. 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 Dancing till the crack of dawn, making love on the front lawn. Venus beams a loving nod in fields of gold shell. We both trod around the world, just me and you. I'm in just that kind of a mood. Holding hands, love's pantomime, shooting glances, time to time. Champagne bubbles, Cupid's brew, to usher in the rising moon. Oh, my heart whistles a happy tune. I'm in just that kind of a mood.
Okay, timeout. Holy crap. Listen, there's a screw up. I'm going to interrupt the video right here. The roll that we made, I'm not going to waste your time and show you all of it. It came out too short and too wide, and it busted out of the tinfoil mold we were trying to use. Not only that, but when we made the first beef patty, it shrank way more than we expected. Oddly enough, the bread didn't shrink as much. The weight of it only went down by 13%. The weight of the meat went down by 38%. I'm either going to have to buy more expensive 90-10 or use 80-20 and use more of it. I'm not sure. Anyway, this we're going to switch gears here and make the beef patty so that we can see the circumference, because I think it's going to fit in this pot, which the pot is what we're going to have to use for the mold for the bread from here on out, because to be honest with you, these two things didn't work. I hate interrupting making that bread, but the point is we got done with it, and as we went to do the editing, the whole thing failed so badly. So anyway,